The pool that will not be named was built in 1993. It was set to be the largest live-action wave pool in the country, though issues surrounding this pool started from its inception. Rumor has it that this site was formerly an ancient Native American burial ground. I know what you're thinking. That's a very cliché premise. However, it's also very much true. According to historians, the local tribe was known to use scenic hilltops to bury their dead. The pool sits atop one of the highest points in the county and has an amazing view. Some say that this land is cursed because of the desecrated burial site. Based on my personal experiences, I would have to agree. I became a lifeguard at the pool, which will not be named, after my sophomore year in high school. Lifeguarding is often regarded as one of the best summer jobs because the pay is great, breaks are long, friends regularly visit you at work, and you get a great tan. What I liked most about lifeguarding was the responsibility. There is no other position where they entrust a 16-year-old to save lives. During my first season, I rescued 13 people from drowning in the waves. It's hard for me to explain the feeling of recognizing an active drowning victim, diving in and pulling that person to safety. Rewarding would be an understatement. I truly felt like I was making a difference in the community. Lifeguarding at this pool was a great experience because we saw a lot of action. After just 4 seasons, I had rescued nearly 100 active drowning victims. I came to find that many of the dangers associated with the pool are due to the wave generator. When running, it creates rip currents that pull swimmers toward the wall housing the generator. Undertows are also created and suck swimmers underwater. The combination of these two currents makes for a deadly environment. In between wave cycles, when the water is still, it just seemed like a normal pool. On top of the in-water rescues, people were constantly getting injured at the facility. We performed first aid for just about every medical emergency they trained us for. Abrasions, anaphylaxis, burns, bruises, cuts, concussions, dislocations, diabetic shock, fractures, heat stroke, heart attack, lacerations, overdoses, strains, sprains, splinters, stings, seizures, and spinal cord injuries. Needless to say, we were on a first-name basis with EMS personnel. They would praise our lifeguarding staff for the quality of care provided. In my 5th season, I was promoted to the head guard position. The head lifeguard doesn't monitor swimmers. They sit poolside and observe the lifeguards to make sure they are watching their assigned water. Another part of my job was to take incident reports. Anytime we provided care for someone, I needed to get a statement from them and the responding lifeguard. One thing that stuck out as odd was the number of people who reported hearing drums right before the incident took place. The curse always came to mind, but I never give it much thought. My first year as head lifeguard was a success. I ran a tight ship. There were no fatalities, and incidents were at an all-time low. Abby, my best friend, helped with this effort. She was the assistant head guard, and we were co-captains on the swim team. Her swimming technique was flawless. Watching her swim is truly a thing of beauty. The only reason I was made head guard over her is because I'm 1 year older. Together, we made an excellent management duo. Sometimes when opening the pool, we would find empty beer cans scattered around. Remnants left behind from locals who snuck in to enjoy a night swim. It seemed relatively harmless because the wave machines weren't running through the night. It inspired us to do the same. During my 2nd season as head guard, we decided to sneak in one night. After working there for 6 seasons, we just wanted to enjoy the pool to ourselves for once. Our only fear was getting caught by the cops and losing our jobs. We figured we could talk our way out of that situation if it were to arise. July 18th was a clear day and the moon was going to be full that night. It seemed like the perfect night to sneak in. We decided to bring our friends Ashley and Ethan. Ethan was our friend from the diving team. He always begged us to let him jump from the wall. I never let him, because it was against pool rules, but this would be his opportunity to do so without getting us in trouble. Throughout the day, we concocted a plan to avoid getting caught. That night, we all piled in my car and left the house around 10 p.m. I parked in a public lot about a half-mile away from the pool. Then we started hiking through the woods. It was a hot night, and the stars were on full display. The moonlight pierced through the canopy of trees and illuminated a path to the pool. It was so bright, we didn't even need the flashlights I brought. We then emerged from the woods and walked up to the fence that surrounds the pool. I revealed a damaged section of fencing and pulled it back so everyone could climb through. There was a picnic table at the far side of the pool where we placed our bags. The facility looked serene at night. The water was like glass reflecting the moon's light. I had never seen the water's surface so still. Abby, Ashley, and Ethan wasted no time and charged for the water. They took long running strides and dove into the deep end, breaking through the glassy veil. I walked to the pool's edge, admired the empty facility for a moment, and then dove in myself. We splashed around for a few minutes before Ethan declared his intent to jump from the wall. My only instruction to him was to enter feet first. I was not in the mood to perform an after-hours backboarding. There was a ladder on the side of the pool that leads to the top of the wall, but he rejected this. Instead, Ethan started to scale the rock wall to impress us. I took the easy way up, using the ladder. Abby and Ashley followed. Ashley wasn't on the swimming or diving team, so I was a little surprised she wanted to make the jump. Once we were on top of the wall, I started to coach Ashley on how to make the jump safely. Ethan stood on the edge with his back to the pool, still breathing heavy from the climb. His arms started windmilling as if he were falling backwards into the pool. We all let out panicked gasps. Then he snapped down, pressed through his toes, and executed a fully laid-out backflip. He entered the water feet first per my request. Abby and I rolled our eyes, but Ashley giggled at the feat. Ashley was now looking down at the water skeptically. I told her if she didn't want to jump that I would climb back down the ladder with her. Abby put her at ease by offering to jump with her. She would be right next to her the whole way. This was enough reassurance, and they made the jump together. Once Ashley resurfaced, we all clapped. Any initial anxiety was gone, and she smiled from ear to ear. She said she couldn't wait to jump again. I remained on top of the wall, just admiring the scenery. My friends were climbing back up when we had our first scare of the night. I could see headlights coming up the pool's driveway. I yelled "Cops!" and told everyone to lay flat on the wall. I was hoping if we remained still and quiet, they wouldn't notice us from a distance. The squad car drove past slowly and shone their spotlight into the pool area. They were looking to catch trespassers, which is exactly what we were doing. Luckily, they didn't have a good angle to see on top of the wall. The squad car proceeded to the pool's main parking lot, circled around, and drove away. We totally would have been busted if we were parked here. After the cops left, we took a moment and sat on the edge of the wall, laughing about near run-in with the law. That's when I felt a phantom chill. A general sense of unease swept through me. In the distance, I thought I could hear the faint sound of drums. I asked the group, "Does anyone hear that?" Everyone went silent for a moment to listen. Ethan and Abby shook their heads no, but Ashley said she could hear drums. Sensing my unease, Abby offered up the explanation that it was probably someone driving by with a loud car stereo. This was plausible enough for me to shrug it off, even though the drums sounded tribal and menacing in a way. Ashley was still excited to jump for a second time and announced she was going again. Abby told her no backflips, to which we all laughed. She then took a running start and jumped out further than her first attempt. She hit the water in good form, but a few seconds passed and she didn't resurface. I thought she was just playing with us. Then a few more seconds passed. Once the bubbles on the surface dissipated, we could see that she was on the bottom of the pool. Abby and I reacted instantly and jumped near her location. Ethan followed us. I hit the water first and propelled myself to the bottom. Once I got to Ashley, I could see her hair was caught in the floor drain, and she was panicking. I grabbed her hair and began to pull. There wasn't time to be gentile about it, so I pulled hard but wasn't able to break her free. Abby was there shortly after. She gripped Ashley from the back of the head and began to pull with me, but we couldn't get her free. I repositioned myself in a squatting position, and Abby did the same. Together, we pressed through our legs and pulled as hard as we could. Ashley became free, but her hair remained in the drain. A palm-sized flap of skin ripped from her head, still attached to the hair that was entangled in the drain. Blood stained the water as we brought her to the surface. Ashley gasped for air and screamed in horror. It looked like she had been scalped. This was the most horrific injury I had witnessed. She was panicking and hyperventilating, but Abby and I remained calm. We started to make our way toward the shallow end when we felt the pull from the wave machines firing up. Typically, there was a loud bell to alert swimmers a wave cycle was about to begin. We were not afforded that warning. We were dead center in the deep end. This was the worst spot to be in. 25 meters from either side wall and even further to the shallow end. Abby and I looked at each other with matching expressions of desperation and wonder. I could tell our thoughts were aligned. Why was this happening? How was this happening? To make things even worse, the pull of the water felt exponentially stronger than a normal wave cycle. It was as if the governor, which regulates the intensity of the waves, was removed completely, leaving us to face the suction of the wave machine at its full capacity. Ashley went into shock and became unresponsive. She was dead weight in the water. I hooked both arms under her shoulders to keep her afloat. My powerful breaststroke kick was enough to maintain my position against the rip current, but I wasn't gaining any ground. Abby urged Ethan to swim for the sidewall. She trusted that I could hold position long enough for her to get to a lifeguard chair. Each chair was fitted with a kill switch that cut power to the wave machine. Ethan set off for the west side of the pool. Abby went for the opposite side. Ethan swam frantically over the peaks and valleys of the waves. He fought hard but was no match for the current. For every meter gained, he lost 2 toward the wave machine. I lost sight of him after a few seconds. This made me start to panic, but I couldn't let go of Ashley. All I could do was pray that he could hold on long enough for Abby to get to a kill switch. Abby buried her head and swam as she always did. Not even the thrashing of the waves could disrupt her perfect technique. I had seen her cover this distance in less than 15 seconds. Unfortunately, this was not the still water of a competition pool. I don't know how long it took her to make it to the sidewall. Maybe it was 2 minutes, but it felt a lot longer to me. My legs were burning from the lactic acid buildup and were beginning to cramp. Finally, Abby made it to the sidewall and climbed out on shaky legs. She raced for the lifeguard chair and slammed the red cutoff button. Immediately, I felt the current subside and saw the waves taper down. I started making progress toward the shallow water. The sound of my heart pounding was reminiscent of the drums I heard earlier that night. Abby called out to me, asking where Ethan was. Over short, exhausted breaths, I only replied, "Call 911." I thought this night couldn't get any worse. Then I was informed we were both going to be charged with criminal trespassing. They also threatened to charge us with criminal negligence and potentially manslaughter. The officer wanted me to say Abby had started the wave cycle. If I said Abby started the wave cycle, I wouldn't receive the additional charges. I assumed they were pressing Abby for the same deal. We maintained each other's innocence and told them we were both in the water when the wave cycle started. This was the truth, but they said our stories didn't add up. Things changed shortly after, when the pool's engineer showed up with one of the county executives. The county executive demanded an investigation be performed before any charges were filed. He spoke to Abby and I directly. We were instructed to say nothing more until the investigation was complete. He wanted to help us avoid any legal repercussions. No charges were filed, but we were detained for the night. This investigation was completed by sunrise. Rich, the pool's engineer, worked with the county detectives throughout the night. They found that the pool's mechanical room remained locked and showed no signs of entry. There was no possible way we started the wave cycle. It was also concluded that there was a power surge in the area. This reset the wave machine's programming to factory settings and triggered the wave cycle. This explains the increased intensity of the waves. The county executive spoke with us before we were released from detention. He told us we wouldn't be charged with criminal trespassing if we signed an NDA agreement. The county wanted to keep this quiet, and we were in no position to reject the offer. We both signed the NDA and were released that morning. Later that day, the pool's manager fired us. it was for the best. I'm now deathly afraid of that pool and fully believe it's cursed. Since then, I've conducted extensive research about the history of this pool and the surrounding area. The things I've learned only solidify my belief in the curse. Here is what I have learned so far. In 1927, the remaining members of the local tribe were brutally forced from this land when it was designated as a county park. Many lives were lost during their relocation to a reservation out west. There is also evidence to support the claim that the pool was built on a burial ground. However, this cannot be proven without tearing up the pool. The construction crew who built the pool experienced 2 fatalities due to site collapses. Once the pool was finally opened in 1998, the first season was horrific. There were countless injuries and 3 fatalities from drowning. Only after public backlash did the county implement more safety measures. Fatalities decreased, but they did not cease. The pool continued to murder and maim its patrons, while the county looked the other way. They had invested too much tax revenue to simply close the pool. Plus, the pool was generating revenue. Only a handful of deaths have been reported in the local papers over the years. However, if you look at the police records, over 20 people have died in this pool. You might ask why I'm sharing this story. No, my NDA didn't expire, but it's not right that these details weren't made public. I can't reveal the name, but people need to know about the dangers of this pool. They need to know of its murderous intent and insidious past. I'm begging you, if you visit a wave pool this summer, look into the local history before you do. If it sounds like this may be your local pool, be wary of these cursed waters.